Yeah, but ultimately, he has responsibility for the government. And you know that the Attorney General does not go to court, at least on some matters, without recourse to the president. So the decision to prosecute people is something that has executive backing, often. Samson, you are right. Oral was a key plank in the NDC 2024 campaign. And if I am not exaggerating, perhaps besides the 24-hour economy, it was the most popular campaign promise. Now, you would ask yourself, how come it became so popular? I think the reason was simple. People saw visible signs of corruption. People saw that there were people in government whose lifestyle did not readily match what they were supposed to be earning. I mean, the scandals used to break out. You, on this program, have delved into many, many, many of them. So it was obvious that people were yearning for a certain level of accountability. That is how come Oral became so popular. When the Oral Committee was set up, it gained tremendous public support. In fact, they were inundated with claims and allegations.
Over 2,000.
Over 2,000 of them. It shows a certain high level of public interest. Now, having been elected with such a wide margin, which margin you can legitimately infer was also contributed to by public expectation that he would take action against evidence of corruption, meant that he had to do what he had promised the people, which is to look into the claims of corruption, and where there is sufficient basis to hold anybody to account, do so. So the oral report was presented about 3 weeks ago, and it has a tall list of cases in which specific individuals have been identified as persons of interest. Let's put it that way at this point. Now, it was necessary then to move on to conduct proper investigations through accredited state agencies in order to determine whether there was a basis to hold anybody accountable for anything. So the security agencies began their action. Let me say that the Attorney General has also been instrumental, because he has studied the document, and where he believes that there is basis for people to be brought in for questioning, he has indicated so and worked with the security agencies to do so. At least 3 cases have come to public attention. The first being the National Service scandal, where 2 people, I believe, I think an accountant and the former deputy executive director, have been taken in for questioning. Through lawful means, nobody's rights have been abused or anything. At least I have not heard the lawyers complain so, which was not the case in the past. Something, what happened was that, I think early this year, early February, the National Service Secretariat, the new leadership, inherited a certain structure. So they made representations to the finance minister about arrears that dated back to August of 2024, and said that this was creating suffering for National Service personnel, and therefore there was a need to clear it. All of it amounted to about 226 million eventually. But the finance minister saw the figures. And what happens is that every month, the National Service Secretariat, or authority, I beg your pardon, sends a letter to the Controller and Accountant General, sends the number of people on their payroll, and indicates the amount of money that have to be paid. So on 4th, 30th December 2024, that was when the last letter was sent, and that is what the new leadership was following up on. They indicated that they had 180,030 National Service personnel who needed to be paid a total amount of 128.8 million Ghana cedis. Now, the finance minister became suspicious, and therefore he demanded a head count. When that head count happened, we found out it was just about 98,000 service personnel who were actually posted and who were working. So based on this, the finance minister was able to pay all the outstanding arrears dating back to 4th August. It became obvious, therefore, that tens of thousands of names had been put on the payroll in a manner that constituted clear payroll fraud. And before this government took over, Samson, you are aware that there have been, let me say, murmurings and grumblings in some corridors about ghost names. Admittedly, it's not the first time. You spoke about having to defend some people who were caught in this way. President Mahama commissioned discrete investigations. I was going to say clandestine, but that would be highly irregular. Discrete investigations into the matter. And it turned out at the time that some 55,000 ghost names or so had been added. And you know what happened. Everybody in charge of anything was swept aside and put on trial. About 100 people or so were put on trial. You had to defend some of them. We are yet to get an update because we left power before those trials were concluded.
In those trials, because I was involved, let me tell you, at least for some of my clients, they admitted to their wrong. So I made them put in a plea for guilty, and then they were made to pay, and then they went free.
That is fine. Yeah. But at least we exacted some punishment for doing so. So I would have thought that learning from this, those who take over will put in place systems to improve upon it so that these things do not happen. But it turns out that the situation has worsened to the extent that if you go back, I have letters dating back to October 2024, where they were demanding payment for 150,000 people. In November 2024, they were demanding payment for 180,000 people. Then, on 30th December 2024, they brought another one demanding payment for 180,000 people, which meant that these monies have been going into individuals. Indeed, we estimate that on the average, every month, 50 million Ghana cedis went into the pockets of those behind this scheme. And if you total the period that this has been going 50 million Ghana cedis every month. And that is money that Stika and his colleagues in the finance ministry could have used for any number of investments in other sectors of the economy. So this is clear fraud that cannot be countenanced. Unfortunately, some of the people involved are said to have absconded. There are some who have gone into countries knowing that we do not have what do you call that? Non-surrender agreements, extradition agreements with them. They've gone there specifically to evade justice, but steps are being taken to ensure that they are brought back. But at least 2 people have now been held, they've been questioned, and due process will take place. There's also the matter of the Sky Train, where
so the NSS matter, the president speaks about it, and he's almost conclusive. You just spoke about it, and you look at something which is clearly fraud.
It is clear.
But we are going to put this before court.
Of course. The basis upon which the Attorney General will go to court is the fact that he is convinced that there's wrong. Otherwise, he won't go and waste his time.
Okay, the Attorney General says he will not put a matter in court when he has not done the investigation.
But you see, sometimes it's so easy. My brother is wearing a green attire. I cannot say it is blue. You know, it is so glaring. It is something. When you see the letter, you bring a letter for 180,000 people to be paid. And we are not talking about the beginning of national service. This is several months down the line. You cannot allege that, okay, you thought 180 people were at post, but they didn't show up. This is several months down the line. And then when you ask for a head count, you get almost half the figure. And this has been going on.
You were moving on to the Sky Train matter.
I think $2 million.
And many people will also remember that the NSS matter, the Fourth Estate Media Foundation for West Africa Group, also did their own
I have seen
data analysis.
Where
data analysis.
Who are as old as 95 years old are said to be doing national service.
Yeah, I have seen them.
50-year-olds, 60-year-olds certainly could not have been within the
when the injunction was procured against the Fourth Estate from going public, I went as their lawyer to get it.
And you see, the evidence is compelling.
Yeah,
it is so compelling.
So
but
I've seen some of those.
Exactly.
But from where I sit, I always say, let's put them before the courts.
It's a fundamental principle that nobody can quarrel with. But some of the evidence.
You're going to Sky Train. Briefly about that and the Abroyens matter.
Some $2 million or so is said to have been paid to an entity for work that cannot be readily verified. And therefore, there's an element of causing financial loss to the state or any other number of charges that can be gleaned from that activity. So there to Professor Amoyokunfi, who is the board chairman of GIF. It is GIF that actually paid the money. The money came from them. And the chief executive, and then Mr. Jogati, who is the former
minister.
They are persons of interest. So all of them have been invited and they've been questioned pending further investigations.
Jogati is clear that there's nothing untoward.
No problem. Of course, he's entitled to state.
He'll come out clean. Yeah.
He's entitled to state, but we respect that. Due process must take its course. But as of now, the Attorney General believes that there are questions to be answered, and therefore he's conducting these investigations.
Is it a matter of fact that $2 million indeed was paid
it is
for no work done?
It has been paid, and yet the work for which it has been paid is not clear. So they must show what specific work was done with this money, and that is why the platform will be created for them. If indeed the Attorney General believes that there's sufficient basis to go to court to present
$2 million paid for zero work.
They said we were going to do Sky Train. We were going to do Sky Train. We were here. It was a huge matter. They went to sign some contracts with some company whose formation even raises questions about their capacity to deliver and all that. But there's no indication as to the work that has been done to merit that payment. That is why the Attorney General is looking into it. There's also the matter of Mr. Ofoyata. I know that the OSP is looking into some matters. Mr. Ofoyata is also allegedly complicit in some of even these cases that I've mentioned. And therefore, that's why you not believe that he has questions to answer. Of course, he has indicated that he is indisposed, not in the jurisdiction. He will come at a certain date. When he comes, every opportunity will be afforded him to answer for specific actions that he took and justify why further actions should be.
Abronye's situation, people say this is wild stuff that in the political milieu they have made. So why do you want the security to go after him?
I am even surprised that you've tabled for discussion. You know, sometimes I am of the view that sometimes not everything that you follow. Some of the claims, with the greatest respect to everybody else, pure nonsense.
So why wouldn't the president tell the investigative bodies that don't pursue
The president
this?
has not been interested in this. He has not lodged any complaint. So sometimes the security agencies feel they must look into it. I don't think that some of these claims will be followed. That's my personal view. There are those who would argue that it has security implications. If you say that the presidency is holding, I am at the presidency. You know, since the ministry was collapsed, I've had to pitch camp at the presidency.
They are holding 550 million, which is supposed to be used to be paid to pay those to be dismissed from the place.
No, how? Who has been dismissed? No, I mean, it doesn't even make sense. So it's not something I want to spend waste any time on. He himself has gained a reputation for saying things that, with the greatest respect, do not make any sense.
The wheels of justice, they say, grind slowly, but they come to a certain end.
Grind efficiently.
Right, thank you.
I'm not sure whether